So I have definitive news now about the 2022 Subaru WRX, and I know this is a day late from my previous video that I posted yesterday about news about the 2022 WRX, but we literally got news pretty much overnight, and hence why I've got a video coming out literally 24 hours after about what we know about the 2022 Subaru WRX. So in this video, we're going to analyze all the still frames that I pulled from the teaser video that Subaru has put out, and we're going to talk exactly about the release date and when we can expect to be able to pre-order the 2022 Subaru WRX and what little information we've gained about the 2022 STI. So again, guys, I do apologize for the back-to-back videos and some conflicting news and the impromptu not in front of my car, but I wanted to bring this news to you guys as fast as I could because we do have some juicy information. The first image that we have of the brand new WRX teased by Subaru is of this one right here, which shows the upper portion, the upper half of the car. That gives us a good picture of the windows, the shark fin antenna, the general scheme of the upper half of the car. And I think what Subaru is really showing us here is that not much is going to be changing in the means of the general layout of the WRX. We're going to see a very similar exterior chassis size of that car. The shark fin looks very similar to what it does before. It does look a little bit bigger. That's because the newer WRXs with the larger Starlink system have a larger shark fin antenna, and the windows look to be very similar. The second and arguably the most important frame that we've pulled is this one here. And this shows the rear quarter wheel, quarter panel, the back, basically where the diffuser and spat meet on the WRX. And I've got to say, this is a little bit of a letdown. So the few things to look at and analyze in this photo. One, we're seeing black wheels, which I'm excited about. I don't really know what they look like, but they do look fairly attractive in motion. We also see that this is likely going to be the base WRX. We're hoping, because we aren't seeing anything special for the brakes, you can actually see they are like the base and standard brakes that have come out on the VA generation WRX. But most importantly here is we see this black cladding where we would typically see a spat. And for me, this is a huge negative because this is typically what you see in a lot of the sport crossovers. So if you guys have seen some of the new crossovers, even from Subaru, but like the RAV4, all these other Honda, Toyota, and some of the Subaru crossovers, SUVs that are getting really, really sporty, like the CX-3 and those kinds of cars, we're seeing a lot of these like pieces of cladding that are typically black or satin that go onto the car as like an exterior feature that sometimes are a middle ground between what we see as spats and front lips. But what it really does is it makes the car a little bit chunky. It tries to achieve this cheap looking sport look that I think a lot of us aren't very interested in, and I worry this is the first sign that Subaru's tried to take the WRX and leave its dedicated sport community to try to bring in more users and users from their other vehicles and platforms to try to expose to a larger community. But I worry that they're going to lose this dedicated community that's behind them because they're going to get too close to these sport crossovers where we're all looking for something unique, sporty, and something you can't find elsewhere. It's also important to see in this photo that there is a reflector pretty right in your face. And I know personally I'm not a big fan of reflectors, and I wonder if this is an indicator that this car is going to have more reflectors per updated codes and requirements from DOT and other ruling bodies, at least for the US. But you know, it is something to think about and something that I'm not incredibly excited about. So the third still that does give us more information, and again is kind of roaming to the negative for me at least, is the still of the WRX driving off into the distance with all the dust coming up at the end of the teaser video for the WRX. And I think this is, you know, this might be exciting for some and might be disappointing for others. The first thing that jumps to my mind is the taillights. The new taillights kind of remind me of the OLM taillights that are like the second generation or something, but they're very like pointy. They look like wings. I'm trying to find words to describe them, but the taillights look to be a lot skinnier, a lot more pointy, and I think that's probably what's happening with this car, you know, we'll look at a few other features, but I think a lot of the curves are actually being lost to more defining, chunky, pointy, TRD style design. I also have to say, just, you know, with this image of it driving off into the sunset, I've got to say I'm a little disappointed. It's not as sporty and aggressive as I was hoping. You know, as we've seen WRXs and STIs progress, they've just gotten more and more sporty and more aggressive, and they stand out, and I think this is the first step to losing that progression. The last pull from the teaser video is the image of the trunk. There are two big things that we're seeing here, as well as we're seeing that pointiness of those taillights. You can see the lower part of that taillight. It's really, you know, sharp corner, very cute angle. And then we can also see the rear lip on the WRX, which is going to be a defining feature. This again reminds me of the TRD style lip. It's a little bit chunkier, it's a little bit more pointy, and it's not as aggressive with the curve. And I think that was something that was special that Subaru was really good at and maybe leaving behind. And, you know, I'm not trying to profess that I know everything about these WRXs, but I think those communities within the WRX community is very, you know, people either like one style or the other. So it'll be interesting to see what Subaru is really trying to achieve with this brand new WRX. And lastly, I wanted to kind of finish the video with just a reflection of all the spy shots that we've seen, and maybe commentary that's saying that a lot of these teaser videos are very similar to what the spy shots are. And I've got to say, the spy shots of the 2022 WRX driving around the US has not been exciting for me. I'm not super excited about it. Now, the look isn't everything, and we can do plenty of things to our cars about how they look. And I think the big exciting thing is what's going to be happening under the hood, what we're going to see inside the car, those kinds of improvements from Subaru. Are we going to get more power? Is it going to be better and more tunable? Are we going to see something like the Supra where they've locked the ECU? I don't know what's gonna come, but I've gotta say I'm not super impressed yet, especially with the spy shots and that combining with what's been the teaser. So I'm really hoping that Subaru wows us with some options and that they've highlighted certain aspects of the car that aren't really indicative of the full car. And by no means am I saying that I'm disappointed and not excited about what's to come. I'm super excited about what's to come, hence me making these crazy update videos very frequently. And one of the big pieces of information that Subaru has told us is that they will be unveiling the 2022 Subaru WRX, just the WRX, at the New York Auto Show on August 19th. So that is super exciting. That's like 20 days away by the time I post this. So look out for that. I will be live streaming during that event, so I can tell you guys exactly what's happening, what it looks like, my first person reaction, and basically everything you need to know. So August 19th, we expect to see it at the New York Auto Show. We should expect to be able to order these 2 to 4 months after the release at the New York Auto Show. That is what a lot of news outlets are expecting. That's typically what we've seen in the past with new released cars. So you can expect that to be the rough time frame. And then we do know that the STI will follow, and that it is now pretty much confirmed that we're not going to see it until post the release of the WRX itself. Thank you for watching the video, guys. Hopefully this was interesting, and I will continue to cover this as new news comes out. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.